So, hey guys, you're probably wondering why you just heard a part of the Weird Science theme song from the original 1985 movie by John Hughes. And the reason why I showed you that is because for this video, I kind of want to actually do two things today. Um, I want to talk about the unfortunate news of the fact that Joel Silver, the producer of the original Weird Science, I guess is interested in doing a remake of Weird Science. And I'll give you my thoughts today of why I kind of don't want that to happen. And I also want to talk about briefly of if they do remake it, kind of the direction I would prefer them to go in. So it's not, it's done in good spirit, I guess, if they were to remake it. Um, and it'll be this idea I'll pitch to the in this video is it's different enough that fanboys like me who are a huge fan of the original Weird Science by John Hughes won't feel like it's interfering with the original too much simply because it'll be different enough. And I think it'll modernize the story better than if they just literally remake it like what they do with a lot of remakes. So for the Weird Science news, you guys, yes, they are remaking it, unfortunately. I only found out about it recently, and that's why I made this video recently. Um, and I really got to say, guys, I'm really sick of seeing all these remakes happening. I know we have RoboCop coming soon. We had Total Recall remade already. Some other ones we had remade already, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. We're just having so many remakes, specifically with the 80s classics, and it's really too bad because the 80s is a very important time for a lot of people. I mean, whether you lived in it or look back on it, or if you're like me and, watched a bunch of films from the 80s and really respect that era of filmmaking, um, it's really too bad that, the studio has to go back and just completely remake Weird Science because, like I said, it's just such a great movie. It was so contemporary and specific to the time period it was made in. It was made around a time where computers were still pretty new to a lot of public homes because computers started out with the military and big corporations. And Weird Science was kind of the time with like the early years of Apple and Microsoft. It was a very rare thing to have in homes. They were very expensive at the time, and they were very, not a lot of people understood computers at the time Weird Science was first made. So you kind of just bought into the fact that these two kids made this woman from this computer. I think that's very contemporary to that time period, and I really don't know how they can do it again, to be honest. But I do have an idea today that will kind of it's kind of our era's version of something this abstract really happening like this. Um, so, like I said, I really do not want this to be remade. It's a huge film that's close to my heart. And it's really too bad they got to remake it because I know the remakes are pretty popular right now. There's a lot of great 80s films being remade. But I am sad that Weird Science is one of those films that is victim of getting remade. I really hope other classics like Rocky and E.T. and Back to the Future. I hope they keep those left alone simply because those are very important to my heart and to a lot of other people's. And I really hope 16 Candles and a bunch of other John Hughes films don't get remade either. But here are my thoughts. If they do gotta remake it, if it's absolutely necessary, if Joel Silver really wants to produce another Weird Science movie before he passes away, this is how I would prefer they would approach it. Number one, don't call it Weird Science. If you call it Weird Science, that's quite clear that it's going to be a remake. People like me are going to like, oh, it's a Weird Science remake. They shouldn't do this. It's going to, break my, erase the memories I've had of the first film that, remembering how terrific it was. So don't call it Weird Science because if you call it that, it immediately reads as remake. It immediately reads as kind of like what happened with Gus Van Sant's Psycho, kind of a shot by shot remake in a way. So don't call it Weird Science. I know that's a weird request, but to me and to other fans, by calling it something else, it immediately gets that pressure off our shoulders that it's a Weird Science remake. So we kind of go into it with fresh eyes simply because the title is different. Um, when it comes to Lisa was the girl in the first movie played by Kelly LeBrock, kind of the perfect woman that these two teenagers made on their computer. If they, my personal preference for if they cast someone to be the new woman that they make on a computer or whatever they end up making this perfect woman on. I kind of want Jessica Alba to be the woman this time. I know it's a weird thing to think. I know, she's not hot and fresh like she was back in the mid 2000s, with Fantastic Four and Into the Blue. But there's something about Jessica Alba, I think just because, she's so attractive and she's aging so well. And I think even Kelly LeBrock was in her mid to late 30s back when they filmed Weird Science also. So it would make sense to go for a more middle aged woman in that sense. Um, but I think Jessica Alba could really pass as kind of this, you can tell she was made on a computer. She's almost too perfect to be true. Her voice kind of has that, like so beautiful it's almost hard to believe that she's existing in our world kind of thing. So if they really got to cast someone new, I would really prefer. I would really like if they cast Jessica Alba in place of Kelly LeBrock. That's just my personal preference for who should be the new Lisa. I would also like to see kind of maybe a new reason why they call her Lisa, because I know in the original film they call her that because Gary liked a girl named Lisa who kicked him in the nuts, like what they said in the movie. But maybe give her a new reason why they call her Lisa. Maybe there was a hot neighbor they had at one point named Lisa, or maybe there was a hot teacher they had named Lisa, or something like that. So, maybe give her a new reason why they call her Lisa. Um, Credit John Hughes for the concept, and that goes back to me saying don't call it weird science, because if they do call it weird science, then they got to say based off a story by John Hughes. But if they completely change the name, use the same concept but a different title, at least credit John Hughes for the concept, simply because this was his concept, um, and I think it's important to at least nod to the fact that John Hughes made this story and that they're you know re-envisioning it. Um, I would like for the two teenagers, Gary and Wyatt, if they even call them that, this remake. I would like an experienced actor, kind of like what happened with Anthony Michael Hall in the original film, and a new actor, kind of like what happened with Ian Mitchell Smith in the first film. It would kind of, bring that spirit back, I think. Um, with Anthony Michael Hall, he had experience going into weird science, and the other actor did not. I think it'd be interesting to see two teenagers, two actors with that background going into this remake. Once again, I think it'd be in the spirit of the original at its best form. Um, this happens in some remakes, and I really hope it happens with this one. If they, like I said, if they do remake this, I would like to have some of the original cast members have cameos in it. So if you can get Anthony Michael Hall, if you can get Kelly LeBrock, because they are both alive and well, possibly Robert Downey Jr., possibly Bill Paxton, maybe even just those four. If you can get those four to have cameos in some ways, like for example, maybe when they go to the bar, like what happened in the original, and if they decide to keep that scene in the remake, maybe Kelly LeBrock is the bartender. When they have the huge house party, maybe Anthony Michael Hall is one of the party guests. Maybe when on the scene, like at the end when there's a gym teacher, maybe the person that introduces the substitute teacher to the class is Robert Downey Jr. Something I don't know, something like around that line. Um, so I would like to have the original cast have cameos. I think it would be just kind of a fun way, and like what some people say online about cameos and remakes, it kind of lets the viewer know that it's done in good spirit. Like kind of like what happened with what movie was this? There was a remake at one point where one of the original cast or some of the original cast had cameos. Oh, I know what it was. It was Shaft with Samuel L. Jackson. The original Shaft had a cameo in the movie, and I believe as a pretty significant character also. So at least with that, you know it's done in good fun. You know that they're trying to make the balance on its own terms and not try to base it too much off the original content. Um, so I think if they did the same with the Weird Science remake, it would make me feel better as a fanboy going into the movie if they did that. Um, Danny Elfman was a part of Oingo Boingo, who did the score of the first film. I think it'd be interesting if Danny Elfman came back as just by himself for the score in this one. It would really represent the fact that it's done. The music's done in spirit in the original. Um, it probably will have a similar vibe since Danny Elfman was a part of Oingo Boingo when they scored the first movie. I just think, score wise, um, it'll be done in the spirit of the original once again. Danny Elfman's the perfect choice for musical score if they do a remake. I would like a different direction as to why these two teenagers want to make the perfect woman. And one idea I had is what if they're the two bullies are more involved with the remake, and maybe they're trying to prove to them, maybe they're single because they want to wait for the right time, right moment. These two guys are kind of rushing into things. And so what they do is they tell them, they kind of make a dare with them in a way, maybe like, what someday we're going to prove to you that, we would make better boyfriends than you guys are. You guys are horrible to your girlfriends. We're going to prove to you that, um, that we can make better boyfriends than you, that we can make our women happier than your women are right now. Maybe do something along that line. Just do something different than what the first film did. Um, yeah, I just because if they do it too much like the original, once again, it just makes it feel like the remake isn't done in good fun. Um, and then that goes to my last point of rather than having this perfect woman made on a computer, because that was new to that time period, for our time period, iPad apps are pretty new to us. They've been around long enough that they're not new, but they're a newer form of computer technology to our modern society. So maybe there's an app where they really play around with it and they find out that they can make the perfect woman and bring her to life through it or something. I don't know. Just I would prefer a technology that's new to us, our society today, 2013, or whenever they make the movie, and they make the perfect woman off that new technology, like a more abstract form of that new technology. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Weird Science remake, you guys. That's also my thoughts on if they do remake it, I want it to be done in this kind of fashion. But if I do have a voice, and if they do remake this or if they don't, my voice would be that I do not want them to remake that, simply because John Hughes nailed it the first time. It's a huge film that's close to my heart. I'm sure it's close to everybody else's heart too who have seen the film, who are John Hughes fans. Um, I really don't want him to remake it. I really don't. I was kind of a part of me died when I read the news that they were going to remake it. But like I said, if they just follow these guidelines, like I just stated, I think the remake could at least be done in good fun. I don't know if it'd be good. I don't even know if I'd own it or rent it or see it again, but at least I could watch it and be like, okay, at least they did this in good fun. They're not trying to compete with the original. They're trying to make it stand on its own feet. Um, so yeah, I really don't want them to remake it. But if they did remake it, the guidelines and the things I shared with you today, I would like that to happen if they do remake it. So, Weird Science remake, not too happy with it. Comment down below if you guys have any comments about it. But for me personally, I really don't want them to remake it.